The Rams just claimed a cornerback that could help fix a major problem, and he could be another big steal for Les Snead. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, SI, Bleacher Report, Dodgers Nation. I do NFL radio for Westwood One. Today I am flying solo. No People's Champ today. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, is out. But we've got a big show. We are talking about the Rams' latest addition after claiming cornerback, former first-round pick from the Commanders, Emmanuel Forbes. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, a very interesting move that the Rams made after the Commanders cut ties with their former first-round pick in 2023. It was the second cornerback taken in that draft, Emmanuel Forbes. The Rams claimed Emmanuel Forbes off of waivers. It did come as somewhat of a surprise that the Commanders would move off of him so quickly this past weekend. He was the 16th overall pick in the 2023 draft out of Mississippi State. He did not have a lot of success, wasn't very effective. He played in 20 games. He's made just 7 starts for the Commanders. He's allowed 46 catches on 69 targets. And the first takeaway here is the Rams claimed him. The Rams claimed him, so that means they take on what's left of his contract. And his average annual salary sits at $3.85 million per year. His rookie deal goes through his 2026 season, and since he was a first-round pick, he does have that fifth-year option for 2027 if things work out, and the Rams decide to pick him up. Now, if you look at the cornerback play for the Rams this season, that certainly has been one of their weak spots on the defensive side of the football. The safeties have been really good at times. The pressure up front's been really good. The linebacker play, you haven't needed as much because of Chris Shula's scheme, having a third safety doing things that can really scheme around, not having a talented linebacker corps, but still has been as bad as some of the cornerback play that we've seen at times. You got Darius Williams, you got Kobe Durant. Those are the only 2 cornerbacks to play multiple snaps in the Rams' win over the Saints. Ahkello Witherspoon did not get burned. Josh Wallace, Charles Woods, they are not guys that are emerging that the Rams are looking at as, oh, these guys can help. These guys are out there competing and forcing the issue to get playing time. So to go out there and get someone like Emmanuel Forbes that I think has the potential and the talent to thrive in Chris Shula's scheme, and that's why the Rams were all over this when he became available. Now, the first question you probably have is, hey, D-Mac, if he's so great, if he has so much potential, why would the Commanders move off of a first-round pick after just one season? Well, the truth is that he wasn't used in a scheme that really utilizes and optimizes his skill set. When he was drafted, his best role would be to be a coverage zone corner, someone that used those instincts, that he uses that athleticism, uses his awareness to jump all over routes and sniff routes out and use his ball hawking abilities. Well, that wasn't the case with the Commanders because they were asking him at his 170-pound frame. Yes, he did add some muscle, but the talk about him when he was drafted was that he was a little undersized based on his weight. They were asking him to go out there and play man. They're forcing him to play man coverage, and that's not a system that's going to benefit him. Now, Quinn does play primarily man coverage right now. It's kind of an off-man cover 3 type of scheme in Washington now, but... And you know that very well because you know all those years of Legion of Boom, right? The Seahawks. But still, when you look at what Forbes does well, it's going out there, playing in a zone scheme, mixing things up. And with the Rams, this is a perfect fit for him because with the Rams, you see their defense mixes it up. Chris Shula will mix up match zone coverages and put him in better spots that I think he can have success. And look, the truth of the matter is, he just has not proven it at this level. 20 career games. He's played 371 total snaps in coverage, has a coverage grade of 38.1 this season. So, yes, he was a bad fit for Washington, did not live up to expectations, and they moved off of him. And I think that with the Rams, on top of just having a scheme that allows him to have more success, also, he needs his confidence back. He needs to be in a better situation. And we know that the cornerback position on the defensive side of the football, it's one of the most scheme-dependent positions on the field. And with Forbes, now you're in a better situation. Now you're in a better scheme. And you just have to look at the potential. I mean, the next thing you really need to know about Forbes is when he was at Mississippi State, this is a guy that had a nose for the football. This is a guy that was getting interceptions at a prolific rate, and that's something that this Rams defense could use. And we've seen that this season with the 3 safety looks with Chris Shula. You've seen McCullough, you've seen Kinchins, you've seen Curl go out there, make big plays in big spots, game-changing interceptions, game-ending interceptions. And with Forbes, at Mississippi State, he had 14 interceptions. He had 5 in 2020. He had 3 in 2021. He had 6 in 2022, his last season at Mississippi State. And of those 14 picks, he had 6 pick sixes. That is still an FBS record. So that shows you the athleticism. The kind of the first thing that really sticks out with Forbes is that top-level athleticism that he plays with. And the potential, the speed that he has in his arsenal. Because you can't teach speed. You can't teach that level of athleticism. And that's why he was the 16th pick. That's why he was the second cornerback taken behind Devon Witherspoon, who went number 5. He was the next guy up. He's fast. I mean, at the combine, he ran a 4.35 40. It was the 5th fastest time of any player in the combine. It was just 0.09 seconds behind the fastest player in DJ Turner. So that's top-level speed. That is definitely eye-opening for this Rams organization. So you're bringing in a guy that's a first-round talent, and there's essentially no risk. It's not low risk, it's no risk. It's no risk, potentially extremely high reward. High reward to the level that he'll help you this season. Now, it's going to take him some time to get up to speed, to work his way into the rotation. At the very least, at the beginning, he provides some depth and some much-needed depth. And the fact that Akello hasn't been getting burned, that tells you that they're out there looking for alternatives. So it could be sooner than later for Forbes, and I certainly think that'll be the case. But just think about if this thing works out, what this could mean for not only this year, but moving forward. And we're going to talk about that next, and Sean McVay's comments on the pickup too. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. All right, let's talk about FanDuel, Rams fans. Now, you can get a big return over at FanDuel, of course, America's #1 sportsbook. Now, if you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you think now may not be a bad time to get in there and check out all the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play. And, of course, there's so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets. So we're going to get you started at FanDuel with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Let me say that again. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Now let's take a look at what's going on with your Rams this weekend. They're 4.5-point underdogs against the Buffalo Bills. That's not that bad considering the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. The over-under is set at 49.5. The game's at SoFi. The Rams come to play at home. And there's all this stuff and so much more over available at FanDuel. You go to FanDuel.com, you download the FanDuel app on your phone, and they're going to get you started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Have been a little under the weather lately. Travis will be back as well, but definitely be sure to tune in Monday through Friday on the podcast over on YouTube, the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel. Head over there, subscribe to the channel. Definitely really helps out. Also hit that like button. But here in our second segment, Sean McVay was on the Sean McVay Show, and he talked about Emmanuel Forbes. He had this to say about the Rams' new cornerback. He's a player that we liked as part of the evaluation process coming out a couple years ago out of Mississippi State. He had a lot of ball production, had some good tape out there. Even when we played them last year, he showed some versatility, showed some competitive toughness on the edge, and good ball skills. A guy that I don't know too much about personally, but Cam Curl was excited to be able to reunite with him. We'll get him in there and get him acclimated to the building. But he was a guy that we liked and had familiarity with just based on the evaluation coming out of Mississippi State. And then I thought there was some really good tape that he's put out there when we've gone against him, particularly later in the year last year. So they've had their eyes on him for quite some time. And we know that that usually means that the Rams try to get that player if they become available. So it's no surprise that when they had the opportunity to get him, they went after him. And he also mentions Cam Curl, and Cam Curl being excited about having him on this team. He also mentioned the tape in the NFL. So they liked him in college. They also have liked what they seen out of him with the tape in the NFL. And that could mean a lot of different things. I mean, the Rams could evaluate him through film study in a different way than the Commanders would, because they're seeing the potential in their defense, not in the defense that the Commanders were running. So I think that's very important. So just because you see a play where he may have allowed a reception, it doesn't mean you're not seeing the quick twitch. That doesn't mean you're not seeing the athleticism that he could bring to this defense. So I think that's very important, is that they like what they've seen in the NFL. It's not like they're just basing this solely on how he looked coming out of college, because a lot of guys look different in their college highlight tapes and their film review from Mississippi State is totally different when you're going up against NFL caliber receivers. So the fact they liked him then, they like him now, they liked him enough to claim him, it says a lot about the acquisition. Then McVay also would say about Forbes, a guy that can come up and play press. I think he's got the ability to be able to play visually. He's tough. He's a leaner build, but he's showed some competitive toughness. If he's asked to come up and run support, he can do it. We played against him last year when we played Washington later on in the season, and I thought he had some good tape. So this sounds like McVay's extremely high on him, on his potential, and that definitely is what you need. You need the stamp of approval from McVay, and I think the biggest question, like we talked about in the first segment, is how quickly can you get him up to speed and get him out there to see what he can contribute, because you only have 5 games left in the season. Cornerback play has been an issue all season long, and I love the fact that if this works out, it not only changes the trajectory of this season for the defensive side of the football, because the cornerback unit, if you can improve just a little bit and make incremental improvements, and then you're starting to feel better about it, you already have the strong suits of this defense already in place, and then you enter the offseason saying, wait a minute, do we have to draft a cornerback with the first pick? Do we have to go out in free agency and sign a cornerback to a lot of money? Will Kobe Durant, Darius Williams get better or provide more than they did this season? Look, they still have had their good games. Don't get me wrong. They definitely have. But you definitely want to improve the quality of play from your cornerbacks this season based on what we've seen. And they told us last offseason that they wanted high upside. And that's why they went out there and they gave money to Trey White. They took a flyer on him and they didn't work out. And it's unfortunate, but it happens. If Forbes works out, maybe you don't need to go out there and be as aggressive in the cornerback market. Maybe you don't have to use a high pick on a CB. So that's definitely a byproduct and a outcome of this potentially is what this means for your future moves. And I think what makes it so exciting too is, like I said, you're going to get a first-round talent with a lot of potential for nothing. for essentially nothing in the grand scheme of things. And we know with this Rams team, throughout the course of their history, they have been great when it comes to reclamation projects. And this is the latest Ram reclamation project that hopefully works out. And look, there's too many to name. I mean, the one that really sticks out to me, you got 2019. When you look at what the Rams did with Austin Corbett, he was on the Browns. At the time, he had one career start. He had started just one game for the Browns. He was inactive for most of that season for Cleveland. The Rams ended up trading for him, and he was big for this team in that 2021 Super Bowl run. He was big for this team. So they have a history of trading for guys that are not realizing their potential with their current team and maximizing their talent for the Rams. So I love that. And then you can go deeper, too. I mean, like Odell Beckham Jr., there was the OBJ situation. He comes to the Rams, and his influence was all about Sean McVay. The talent was always there. He was a more proven player as far as being a Pro Bowl level player throughout his career. But confidence is key. Being happy is key for some of these guys. I will never forget when OBJ said that Sean McVay, and playing with the Rams, it allowed him to bring joy back to football. It made him happy again. It brought love back into the game for him. And then also, same thing goes with Baker Mayfield. It was such a short stint with Baker Mayfield. He comes off the plane. He beats the Raiders on TNF. And he said it was the first time in a long time that he had fun playing football again. So, yeah, for Forbes, it's about being fast, being fun, going out there and doing what you do on the highest level. And he could find a home here. I mean, let's also not forget, too, Kevin Dotson. Another example, you trade for Kevin Dotson. They loved him so much, they gave him a really nice extension. So this is what the Rams do. Anytime the Rams bring a player in, it's for a very specific reason. It's a very calculated move. It's a well-researched move. It's a move that they think is going to bear fruit and pay dividends. So, hey, I truly believe that Forbes has the potential to be the next big diamond in the rough for the Rams. And I could not be more excited because his post-trade deadline, you don't really see a lot of player mobility, but this is a great opportunity for the Rams to capitalize this late in the season. But coming up next, talking more Forbes and more secondary on Locked On Rams. All right, Ramley, let's talk about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is fun. I play it almost every single day. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. You think that Puka Nacua is going to get more than 76.5 receiving yards? You think Cooper Kupp is going to get more than 65.5 receiving yards? You think Matthew Stafford is going to throw for more than 253.5 passing yards? Well, you can go over and play over at PrizePicks. Hey, if they're going to beat the Bills, you're going to need production out of Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford. Now, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's download the app today. I'm going to say it one more time. Download this app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Now, looking back at the Saints game, Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, they were the only cornerbacks that played multiple snaps. So you look at how they performed. Williams, he allowed 53 yards and a touchdown. Durant, he allowed 4 catches on 4 targets. He also had 3 missed tackles. So it wasn't a great showing, especially against a Saints team that doesn't have elite wide receivers or anything like that. So it's no surprise to me that the Rams went out there and they tried to make a move to help improve this area of the team that's going to need to get better if they want to win this division. So I love this move. I'm going to give this an A as far as the claim of it because, like I said, it's a no risk, not a low risk. It's a no risk and extremely high reward. The thing that excites me most is not even this season. It's really the potential for the offseason because you guys know what I always say, if you don't have a left tackle, you're going to be left out. The 2 times the Rams won the Super Bowl, you've had elite left tackle play, Orlando Pace and Andrew Whitworth. Been saying that for years now. So I would like to get a left tackle into the fold. Maybe add another weapon. They wanted Brock Bowers this past draft. So do you add another weapon, a wide receiver, a dynamic player to help this offense? Do you consider drafting a quarterback depending on what happens with Matthew Stafford? So look, you're going to still need to potentially add to that position. This is no guarantee, even if he does work out to a degree, but it at least gives you an opportunity to find someone that can fill a role that you need to fill so you can allocate those resources and assets elsewhere. So it's definitely exciting stuff. And look, I'm going to say right now, I got a good feeling about this guy. I have a really good feeling because the scheme is one where he can thrive with Chris Shula in this Rams defense. The build, the athleticism, the frame is what the Rams like in cornerbacks. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.